Let's see, man. We had big news happen, recently, a day ago.
Yeah.
In the college football spectrum, man, Big Ten and the Pac-12 both saying that they're not going to have any fall sports. They're planning on, they're looking into finding ways to do a spring type season. I know they've talked with the NFL, and NFL has said that they will be open to moving around some of their off-season activities from the draft, combine, and things on that nature to accommodate a spring schedule. But yeah, man, I think it's crazy if it works out. That's what I'm thinking.
Wait, so what of them doing a spring?
Yeah,
It'd just be those two conferences though, as of now, because all the other ones, ACC, Big 12, and SEC, they're planning on going.
Yeah, they're planning on it. Mm-hmm.
So, I guess my question is, what do you think of them going to the spring then, if they were to do that, or just even them canceling in general compared to the other conferences?
I think that they're just taking the more safer approach. The thing is with this whole situation, I mean, from the start of it, you've had some people that didn't take it serious. You had some people that did take it serious. Then you had some people that were kind of in the middle, right? I think this is just a microcosm of that. You got the Pac-12, the Big Ten, who are like, you know what? We don't feel like we can do this properly. We've talked to our medical experts. They don't think that it's a good idea, so we're going to postpone it until the spring. That's more the safe approach. Then you got the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, and they're like, man, there's a lot of money involved here. Still a lot of uncertainties, but you know what? We're gonna play. We feeling confident, and we're feeling confident that we can get this thing done. Now, which side is right? I don't know. I don't really think that there's a right or wrong. I think it's just more so people being a little more cautious than the others who are kind of like, you know what, I don't want to be that cautious right now. But the biggest driving factor when you talk about the conferences that are still going to go forward, the money element of it. We talked about, I mean, even with the NFL and the major sports, how the money has been the driving force through it all. Economy, how that helps them out and things like that, and the amount of jobs that it helps out and stuff like that. So that's a huge element of that. You know, I think if we kept it as the quote unquote amateur, you know, since college sports supposed to be amateur and all that stuff, if it was just that, no money involved, it wouldn't even be a debate, honestly, in my opinion. I think everybody would just say, you know, we're going to do it in the spring. It's really no big deal about it. But when you're talking about the money that's associated with it, I mean, the NCAA is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a lot of money. The only thing that's amateur about it are the athletes. Other than that, it's a legit business. And I think a lot of that plays into some of those decisions to keep going and things like that. But I don't think either side is right or wrong. I just think it's just a difference of how they are viewing it right now. I will say this. I think if they did do a spring schedule, it's still going to have a lot more hurdles to go through just because of the amount of time that, I mean, from an NFL standpoint, right, the kids that are going to be playing in the NFL, if your season starts in January, February, and you're done by April, it's not a lot of time before your NFL season starts, which will be in September, because the NFL isn't planning on moving that. They're talking about, okay, we can move the draft back. I think they say they move the draft back to like June at the latest. So you imagine you getting drafted in June, reporting for rookie mini camp, OTAs and everything in June. A month later, you report for training camp at the end of July. That's not a lot of time when you're talking about from a season ending, getting your body prepared, and then going into the NFL, which we know every rookie talks about that rookie wall because of how long the NFL season is and how you feel like that senior year or that last year of college football to your rookie year is like one of the longest years because you never get a break. And that's with the traditional college football season ending in January if you're playing for a BCS championship. So you think from January, you got all the way till May, June, July timeframe. Now you're condensing that drastically by doing a spring schedule. So that's the only concern I have. And then not even mentioning the players that aren't planning on going to the NFL, the underclassmen that have to come back next year. You're getting done with the season, like I said, in April. And then you're turning right back around come August, September, and it's time to go again. That's not enough time for your body to really just recover from the rigors of a season, and not even talking about the guys that have to have surgeries and stuff like that either. So that's my only concern with the spring stuff.
Now, my question is, I know we were talking about, you mentioned the whole business side of it. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, yeah, there is money involved. There's jobs involved. And I think even for the players, there's, you know, draft stock, there's draft potential and just NFL prospects involved too. But even outside of those type of players, you might have still 85 to 90% of the players that still want to go, like, aside from the business. So, like, I don't, that's one of the things I'm curious about too. I know you brought up, like, if it was just strictly amateur, there was no money involved, would they still want to be doing it? I don't know. They still might be, because there's probably like 85 to 90% of the players that still want to play.
Well, see, I think that's a stretch. I think you say that 85, 90% of the players that want to play because you see the star players tweet out that they want to play. It's not a proper representation.
There was an interview I heard. The reason, because I would have said, like, without even looking into it at all, I would have said like 95 to 97%. But there was, I don't know what the sample size was.
Yeah,
but they
and
said,
that's the problem. Yeah.
And he said around 85 to 90%. And then there was a 5% group that said, I just still need more information. And there was another like 5 to 6% that was like, you know what, I'm not going to play.
And this is the issue when we're talking about the representation at the NFL level. You have a union. You have a union that represents the full body of every single athlete, right? There is no, do they all think this, or do just the star players think this? At the collegiate level, because there is no union, there is no proper representation of every single athlete's voice there. And when we talk about what we see from a public standpoint, the only people that make the headlines are the big name players that say they want to play. So after that, you really not getting the representation of, if it's 116, it's anywhere between 116 to 120 D1 schools for football. And then you look at the amount of players on each one of those teams, just for whole numbers, you could say it's 70 players on each team. It's probably going to be a lot more than that by 10 to 20. You do the math on that. You mean to tell me that they got all of those guys polled? They asked every single one of them? It's not realistic. They did not do that.
Even if it comes down to like between 70 or 80, though, the rosters are so big. It's just like, if you want to play, you do. I don't know what the whole process would be about signing a waiver or whatnot. But if the kids want to play, and I don't know, there's all the stats out there. I'm not trying to be an expert on this, but like that age range is like at minimal risk. Like it's really not risky. It's like a 0.04% of like anyone under 70 are like dying from this.
So you say they don't have the issue, but I mean, they don't have the high risk, which we already agreed upon. But the other thing is they don't know the long-term effects of it either. Very similar to like when CTE started happening, right? When you're playing, you get a concussion. No one thought it was that serious. Then you look down the line, it's like, oh no, this is serious. And then we saw how the protocols and everything shifted, and then the lawsuits that came from that as well. So right now it's easy to sit here and say there is no ramifications for these kids playing. But until you know more, how do you just go off and make that statement? Because how would you feel if today you're sitting here saying that 10 years from now we start seeing a span of every athlete that did play that was quote unquote low risk having heart problems from it, having other things from it that continue to linger on? I mean, we saw how people reacted to CTE when that finally came out. It was, oh my God, how could the NFL have allowed this? Why didn't they take more precautions early on? All this outrage, and then, like I said, the lawsuits that came along with it. It could be a similar situation. That's the only problem with
I just don't get how any of it adds up, though, because if these conferences aren't going to be playing, there's reports out there that still there's going to be kids reporting to campus. There's still kids on these sports teams that are, if they're postponed to the spring, they're still going to be training with a bunch of people in gym facilities and all this type of stuff. So I just don't get what the difference. I don't know how playing football is any more risky than just going about your day-to-day life and contracting the coronavirus.
Well, because in your day-to-day life, they tell you to wear a mask and social distance. When you're playing a sport, which is football,
if there's testing and all these safety protocols in place where they're going to be almost over-analyzing it and trying to make sure everyone's really, really safe. It seems like it's actually more safe to be playing football. I know some of these coaches have come out and said that. I don't want to just completely take them for their word, but at the same time, I don't see what the correlation is between playing football and coronavirus versus just going about your day-to-day life, meeting with people in the bar, meeting with friends, doing, whatever.
Yeah, so my caveat to that, or my rebuttal to that, would be this. Number one, you talk about how it's safer at some of these universities because the testing, the medical facilities. Yeah, your top programs, absolutely. You can go down and talk about your Clemson. You can talk about your Alabama.
Well, that's what we have left, though, in terms of these conferences.
Not necessarily. It's still lowerly funded schools from a football standpoint in the SEC. The same with the ACC. The same with the Big 12. Don't act as if Iowa State makes the same amount of money as the Alabamas and the Clemsons of the world. Their facilities look drastically different for a reason. So it's easy to sit here and say that, oh yeah, it's safer to be on campus and playing football because you're going to get the testing. Yeah, at that school, but not at these other schools. That's the issue. So you're going to have, maybe 10 to 15 schools that can do that, right? that can make sure that, oh man, everything is safe. We got the kids in the best situation. We can isolate them, do a pseudo bubble situation for them, because you have to also remember that just because the athletes are getting tested, if they're on campus, do you really expect that 18, 19, 20-year-old to not go with his friends who aren't being tested every day, to not be around his friends who could be going to other campuses to party all the time?
This is my point. I don't see what we're doing here at all.
What do you mean though?
If kids are coming back on campus anyway, like I just don't get the correlation between college football.
Because the difference is this: when you're playing football, you're not social distancing, man. You're breathing on people, you're laying on people, you're in each other's personal space, you bleed on each other. When you're just walking around, when you go to a bar,
but if no one has
listen,
it, if no one has it,
how are you going to say if no one has it though? Because the kids, when they come back on campus, who are they around? They're not just around athletes. They're around other students.
You test them or you do whatever beforehand. That's kind of what they're talking about with these safety protocols, right?
Sure.
Wait, I mean, you don't think they're going to be doing that?
Like I said, at certain schools, yes, because they have the resources for that. But you are living in this like fantasy where you think every school has an Alabama budget. They don't. It's a lot of schools that you think Robert Morris and Duquesne have the same budget of an Alabama.
If Alabama I don't even know if Robert Morris's conference. We're just talking about the Big Five. But anyway, okay. in the Big Five, then some of those elite programs are going to be reliant on some of the smaller ones. So you don't think there's going to be some type of sharing involved there of resources?
I think you're wishful thinking with that, man. But if that's the case, why haven't they been doing that beforehand?
Well, we're at a different point right now. But like, dude, if Texas, Alabama, these schools are reliant on the testing protocols for Iowa State or some of the smaller programs that you talk about, then I'm sure there's going to be some way that let's come together and get this thing going.
Well, I hope you're right, but we've seen just from a national standpoint, all this coming together stuff, it sounds good on paper until you get people to say, well, nah, if we good over here, why should I worry about you? Isn't that going back to the whole mask concept anyways? I'm low risk. I'm good. It don't bother me. I don't need that. I'm good. I'm going to take care of me. You worry about you. What's the difference?
No, both are aligned in terms of, all right, we want to play football. Iowa State, I think, aren't they the school that's going to be playing? Are they in the Big 12?
Yeah, Big 12, yeah.
When did they get in the Big 12?
They've been in there for a while, man. Yeah, but like I said, they're not a big it's not a big program. What do you think about Kansas? Kansas is another one.
I know about Kansas being in the Big 12. Iowa State, though, man. When did they get in there? It was probably when Nebraska left.
It might have been when Nebraska left, when Missouri joined the SEC, A&M, and all them. So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's funny because the whole report is out there that Iowa, I think the governor's saying, like, yo, I'm wanting you guys to play. And Iowa can't now because of the whole Big Ten thing. Yeah. And then Iowa State. What do you think about, now this is an interesting thing, should Big Ten or Pac-12 players be allowed to transfer immediately?
Well, I think
they should, dude.
I don't think it's an issue. At the FCS level, players have been transferring. I think the biggest thing is this, though.
Like in play this season, like if Justin Fields wanted to transfer to Pitt, hey, man, come to Pitt, dude.
Yeah, but I think that you have to just be a little concerned that you transfer because you think that school is going to be playing, and then say in a couple of weeks they decide they're not going to play. Now when it starts back up, now you're stuck.
You might have to time it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it sounds good in theory that, oh yeah, I'm gonna transfer because we said, like I've said JMU because they finally said that they're gonna do a spring season. A lot of the top players have been transferring. A lot of them are going ACC schools. So you're like, all right, as long as the ACC is playing, it's a great move. It makes sense. You get your opportunity, things like that. But if they postpone that season and now you got to wait till the spring, now your situation can be drastically different because you're leaving from, some of these powerhouse programs and transferring to a school that was just available at the time of crisis. So that's the only thing I would be a little bit concerned about in that regard. But honestly, for me, man, if you're a first round pick anyways going into this season, why are you even risking it? You're seeing multiple players have already said they're not even going to play this year.
Fields and Lawrence want to play the two top guys. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you, Fields, listen, we got Pitt. I know Pickett's our quarterback right now, but if you were to transfer,
Kenny Pickett just got added to the Johnny United's Golden Arm watch list.
Dude, listen, come to Pitt. You can have a showdown against Lawrence in the regular season here. Uh-huh. I know you guys are both going to be top picks, but that could be a fun thing for you guys just to have one more final showdown in college before you guys go off to the pros. And Pitt could use it, man. It's a good sports town. We're going to be rooting for you. It's going to you have a chance to actually re-energize and reinvigorate the Pitt program, man. Like where else do you have a chance to do that? Wow. Some of these other schools, they're already there. You're not going to really make a difference there. In Pitt, you could be a hero. You could be the next Danny Marino here. You come in here, Go undefeated, win a national championship. Fields, think about transferring.
It's not
to
going to be a
Pitt, man.
national championship. Just throwing it out there. If two of the Power 5 conferences are not playing, it's not a national championship, bro. I'm throwing it out there right now. You call it what you want to call it. Not happening, bro.
I'm still good with it, dude. Because those are
cool, man.
See, here's the problem. The Big Ten, you got Ohio State.
Yeah.
Penn State's been pretty legit these past couple years.
Pac-12, you got Oregon.
Dude,
What? No, don't
they're
play.
Down. Pac-12's just down all around, though.
Okay.
I'd say Ohio.
You got two legit contenders.
You definitely are missing out on Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan's. They're up and down too recently, but they're always gonna be in the top 25.
Like I said, you got legit teams that aren't playing in there, bro. I'm not